Two recent events concerning Russia and the Baltic states put the region on alert. Both concerned the maritime borders of the eastern part of the Baltic Sea. Our expert explains what to make of these latest Russian activities. The first event took place on May 21st. A draft government decree was published by the Russian Ministry of Defense on an official Russian registry,
which described the necessity to change so-called coordinating points for establishing baselines, which are point of reference in defining the maritime borders, exclusive economic zones of Russia, in relation to the several points in eastern part of the Baltic Sea, namely some points on the border with Finland, with Estonia and with Lithuania. The Russian side has presented this document, which, by the way, has not been published in its entirety. It was only an explanation to the document published, as a technical matter, which was caused by the necessity to adjust the established baseline to the changes of physical changes and geopolitical changes, since the last time it was reviewed took place in 1985, so during the Soviet Union period. The problem, however, is that such unilateral changes of those baselines, which again are the base for establishing all the maritime borders, could eventually lead to a territorial change, a change of the maritime territorial border of the Russian Federation.
It was not a coincidence that these changes were proposed in the areas of bordering NATO member states, the northern flank. Even after the documents were taken down from the registry and Russian spokesperson Dmitry Peskov denied Russia's territorial claims, 2 days later, on the night of May 23rd, a new incident happened on the border of Russia and Estonia. During the night, the Russian border guards moved the buoys which marked the path of sea routes on the Narva River on the Estonian part of the border, and by doing this, technically Russia violated the territorial integrity of Estonia.
The problem is quite complicated. The question is that each year, Estonian side, in accordance with the Russian side, establishing these buoys to provide safe navigation routes on the river, which is a border river. But since the outbreak of the full-scale invasion of Russia on Ukraine in 2022, Russian side discontinued to agree with the Estonians on this very technical issue. So it led to the situation in which Estonia is doing that unilaterally. Therefore, the Russians have decided to escalate by physically removing those buoys, and it was interpreted rightly as some sort of provocation or type of hybrid warfare by the Russian side. It was faced with quite equivocal condemnation, not only by the Estonia authorities, but by the other neighboring countries and also by the European Union. The High Representative Borrell also has strongly criticized this Russian move. The question is why it happened and why now it is happening. Again, I believe that two incidents, document draft and the border incidents, are strictly connected. And in fact, the aim of that is to stir tension between Russia and neighboring countries. By no accident, those who are members of NATO and part of the NATO eastern flank, the north part of it. And Russia would like to suggest that some sort of escalation is possible involving those neighboring states. So whenever the changes proposed would be introduced, and Russia suggested it may take place in January next year. And if such physical acts by the Russian border guards will continue, we may expect a sort of escalation. Russia suggests it is possible, and sending a signal towards the public opinion within the Western states that it can be dangerous. Despite public denials, this is the intention. I believe it is overall connected with the war of Russia against Ukraine and against the West in general, which is ongoing. And the basic aim is to, by steering this tension and possible fear of further conflict, is to enforce some sort of negotiations, both in terms of negotiating the so-called peaceful settlement of the Ukrainian war, but also taking a more far-reaching goal to start talking to Russia on the matter of European security, which was also very clear intention of Moscow from the very beginning. So by instigating this tension and possible fear, Russia would like to pressure, on one hand, those who are advocating for more engagement of Western countries into support for Ukraine, to deter them, and to connect with those forces, political forces, parts of public opinion in those countries who are advocating talks with Russia, who would like to have achieved possibly a quick freeze of this conflict, meaning effectively to provide concessions, political and territorial concessions for Russia. So Moscow sees that kind of hybrid activity as instruments of its intimidation and also an instrument to bring some political change of policy line of the countries of NATO member states and major allies, and also EU member states.
In the near future, we might expect similar activities on the part of Russia.
Unfortunately, I believe we can expect more of that from Russia, which would be related both to the events in Ukraine, so the Russia dissatisfaction with the current state of affairs, not enough luck, not enough progress in their offensive in Ukraine, and increase of Western supplies to Ukraine, which Russia would like to deter. Also in relation to the incoming planned peace summit in Switzerland in mid-June, which Russia very like to undermine, and then incoming NATO summit in early July. This is another very important event Russia would like to undermine politically, but also through the means of hybrid actions. Later, of course, we have important elections, especially in the US in November. So we have quite many important possible events towards which Russia would like to create this additional tension. Also testing the unity, testing the reaction of the other side, the Western side, the unity of NATO, unity of the EU, and the coordination between the US and European allies. Russians would very much welcome a disagreement about possible reaction on towards the Russian provocations. They could play that out against those countries, and we can expect Russia will try to do that.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories like this one from the region.